Hi everyone, Alba here. This is my solo walkthrough of the level 22 epic quest, the Jungle of Khyber, on the Elite difficulty, and my QuickStick PlayGuide for level 24 with the DPS layout. Enjoy! Hi everyone, Warjack here. I'd like to just take a minute to explain a little bit of my shortcut keys that will make more sense as we go through this quest. We have my shortcut bar number 1. That's the one all the way on the bottom right. That's my main shortcut bar, and it just used the shortcut keys 1 through 10, the regular keys above my WASD. Above that we have shortcut bar 2. Each number I designated a special key on the keyboard, so I put them all in order. So underneath the WASD we've got the bottom line of letters, starting from Z as number 1. So ZX, CV, B, and N are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then once I get to M, it's already where the map is. So now I went up one level. I went up to the middle row of my keyboard. So F is my use key. Then after that I continue with GH, J, and K for 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now what I did is I added my shortcut bar number 3, the third shortcut bar. I added the same exact configuration but with the modifier key. So one of my mouse buttons I have next to my thumb, I've got 2 mouse buttons. One of them is like a forward and a backwards. The backwards mouse button is what I use as my custom modifier key. I actually made a video explaining how to do this. Anyways, when I press on it, then I can combine with any of the other keys, X, C, B, whatever I want, exact same order, but plus the modifier key. So I use those for like special actions that I don't do all the time, but things I want to have access in mid-combat. Kind of like action boosts or finishing moves, rather than the attacks on the main shortcut bar. Finally, I've got shortcut bar number 4 and 5. So for number 5, I use the numpad shortcuts. Use all the numpad keys, 1 through 10, designated to shortcut bar number 5. And for number 4, I've got the same thing with the numpad, but I also added a modifier, added control. And those are things that I will let go of the mouse and press on them. Those are either like buffs or like things that will like remove curse or remove disease, remove blindness, and etc. stuff like that. My 0 key, for instance, is my harbor pin. So just in case something terrible happens, I let go of the mouse, hit 0, and go back to the mouse. That's how I use the numpad. Anyway, that should explain basically how I use all my shortcuts. Here, for instance, you can see that they separated these 2 mobs from each other. So I tried to get them to both stand next to each other so I can hit them at once. Hitting one at a time is very inefficient. Using the DPS layout, I have access to Adrenaline Overload. That's my big one-shot DPS. If I want to hit something and, as I call it, the Be Gone button, or get lost or whatever. So anytime I have something like this Scorpion who I don't want to keep on running and disappearing inside of the ground, I want to kill it as fast as possible, I use a charge of Adrenaline Overload. Note over here, if you stand very close to the edge, stick to the left wall, you go up, there's an extra collectible. You have to go track your way back. Stick to the wall on the right, come out through that little crack. Make sure you've got underwater action, or I can guarantee you you're gonna drown the first time you do it. It's very tricky. You can't actually get out. You can't actually get out of the water any other place except for that little corner. The traps next to the door go off a little bit after the door opens. So if you run against the door, you and the whole party run against the door. As soon as it opens, you'll be able to get past before the traps go off. Just in case you don't have a trapper. The vast majority of this quest is well known, and I don't really think I need to comment on everything. So I'll spend some time explaining a little bit about my key bindings and my shortcuts. So it'll be more comprehensive, whoever wants to follow along. My main shortcut bar, I have 1, 2, and 3 were going to be my long jumps. 3 isn't populated yet. I only get it when I get fire charge. 4 and 5 are always my open lock and my search. After that I've got my weapons. or my main weapons. So my main weapon right now is at 7, 6 is my res clicking, then I've got my ranged weapon, then I've got my Metalline weapon, and my ooze beater. So basically all the essential weapons I might need at a touch I've got available. Notice I have on the left shortcut bar full of other quests, full of other quarterstaffs I like to use occasionally just for fun. So I have them all out available so I don't have to go digging through my bag when I want to look for them. Usually if I'm running things for favor, so I like using, I guess, more fun quarterstaffs. Not always the best DPS is the most fun. Sometimes the flashy effects can be much more satisfying.
As the gate grinds open, drow scorpions.
In my Tear of the Hakan video, I mentioned that most of the game is accessible if you've got a long jump. And here I'm about to prove it again. There is this little overhang where they stand and snipe you. But actually you can jump up over here, use a long jump to get across. And then you can just hit everyone down in melee. For new players, this is probably one of the most popular quests to run when people are trying to fill up their epic destinies. It's very easy to find a group for it, it goes very fast, you get a lot of XP. It's usually ran on epic hard, when it's just for epic destinies. People run it, somebody will post as dailies, and this will be one of them, Bond 3.
The inevitable's footsteps thunder across a stone bridge ahead.
Here we get to see the Marut again. Comes to look down at us.
You are caught up with
The inevitable.
It stares coldly at you, it's calculating the threat and close of its mission.
Here I use Primal Scream as an attack and as a buff, so I held off until the monsters actually were activated, so they could actually take some damage from the Primal Scream before I used it. And that way I also got the buff and also gave out a little bit of damage. Primal Scream doesn't really last that long, and for this particular character who his main stat is dexterity doesn't help as much for damage, but the constitution helps. That's very nice. Here's something I would like to make a point of. You'll see all the time that when I want to heal myself, I keep on priming by using a healing potion. It's just because it uses the drink animation, it gives me a half a minute of plus 50 positive healing application. So anytime I want to use my cocoon, I want to get the maximum amount of healing out of it, first I'll prime, or I'll take a potion. There's just the guild potions, the cure serious wounds. And they don't give you that much healing, but they actually increase the overall healing you get from everything else by a significant amount. As you just saw right now, I just hit myself first with a potion, and only then did I use the regenerative cocoon. If you ever do get knocked down, make sure you press the shift or block. There's no reason to take extra damage while you're laying on the floor. These scarabs also can debuff you, and that's why I always prioritize them. As you can see here, I'm trying to make sure that all the enemies stand together. That way when I hit all my cleave attacks, I'm always hitting everyone, not just one at a time. Again, the DPS of this build comes from the fact that you hit multiple targets together. If you don't focus on that and you just go after targets one by one, you're not going to be hitting that much DPS. You're missing out on the key factor of this build. So try to do your best to make sure that you're hitting more than one target at a time. The base damage of the quarterstaff is really low, 1d6. That's like less than a throwing axe. I mean, really, there's not really that much to the base damage. The only thing that it does is makes up for it is by certain things like the fact that you're holding it with 2 hands. So you get extra benefits from like power attack or from certain fighting stances. And the more important one is how you use it to fight. So over here I'm trying to make sure I hit always multiple targets. And that's what helps you make up for all the loss of DPS. As you see, I'm trying to keep on positioning myself in such a way that I'm hitting multiple targets. So if I've got 2 and another third one standing a little bit away from them, I try to put myself kind of in the middle, hoping that I'll be able to hit all 3 of them at once. This is really where the finesse of this build comes into play. If you can actually put yourself always in an optimal position, you should be getting the maximum amount of DPS. The tactic they use very often is try to, I guess, scare one of them to standing next to the other 2 and chase them away. So I try to get all the enemies to bunch up together. So if I see one who's standing out of the group, I'll jump behind him and make him run towards the rest of the group.
You stand amidst a scene of terrible slaughter. The inevitable has already passed.
Here I know that there's a big fight down the hole. I don't want to trap all the monsters together because it's a little bit too hard for me. So I'm trying to get him to get a little bit out of the hallway. They keep on dropping this ice AoE on me and I don't want to take too much damage from it. This archer doesn't want to move. Here you can see again, I prime myself, then I hit with myself with a cocoon. I'm just going to debuff, so I'm just going to rebuff and jump right down into the big fight. Here's something I haven't used yet, but I actually have Unbridled Fury. It's basically 10 charges of adrenaline overload every 3 seconds. Basically it lasts for half a minute. Right now I'm targeting the casters and hoping that everything else runs after me and stands next to me so I can cleave them all at once. But the casters are right now the prime target. This quest is actually kind of difficult to solo for a mid-level character. And the reason is people don't realize that if you're very comfortable on playing heroics on elite, when it comes to epics, that's about the equivalent of playing epic hard. When epics were introduced into the game, there was only an epic difficulty. There was no epic normal, epic hard, and epic elite. And when it was reintroduced as epic normal, hard, and elite, the epic hard was the standard. So epic hard is kind of the equivalent of elite. And epic elite is already more difficult than that. So don't be surprised if you find it extremely challenging. If you feel like your power level drops significantly once you get into epics, maybe you should just be doing epic hard. Now usually people do this with a whole party, and with a whole party this quest is completely different. People know it really good and they know the layout, they know where all the monsters are, so that experience really helps and people blast through this quest extremely fast. on my shortcut bars, I designated number 7 or G, and shortcut bar numbers 2 and 3. Well, mainly number 2. That's where I put the Adrenaline Overload. That's my special ability that I'm using with my Epic Destinies. If I was being a different Epic Destiny, that would be changed out to some other special ability. So if I would be in my tank stance, that would be the Renew, so some extra healing. Over here is my big burst of damage. Basically, anytime I change my Epic Destiny, that's the one thing I change. I drag it to my shortcut bars and I swap it out for the other one. This build is already very heavy on a whole bunch of actions, and if you pack too much into it, you won't be able to activate all of it. You just lose out on your DPS. Raider Command can be really annoying, but as you see, I'm blocking most of his damage. I'm only taking damage from a few things that I don't have any way to block. I don't know, like light damage and a few things like that. Using Aasimar gives me access to healing hands, and that's my big burst of healing. So if I'm down really low, I always have healing hands to save me. I've got 7 charges and it slowly recharges. And if I really want to get the maximum out of it, I need to prime it first by taking some kind of item with a drink animation. So for me, that's the healing. Anyways, if you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you. You can see I'm buffing on the run. My mouse is not connected, but still I can move my keys because I've got a set of keys that allows me to turn and a set of keys that allows me to still strike. So I'm turning with Q and E and strafing with A and D.
You'll enter the new section of the caves. In the distance,
I'm just waiting for my spring attack to recharge.
Dark allies will fail.
Use 1 charge of Adrenaline Overload, and with 1 shot I can get rid of the Beholder.
Never heard of a beholder serving Krux or anyone else. You shudder to imagine.
You can also use the regular Volt, but it doesn't have an attack thing. You actually have to remember to swing your weapon. So this is the power of Adrenaline Overload. Pick out your target, set it up, 1 shot. Of course, not every target you can kill with 1 shot, but a lot of these very dangerous targets, like Beholders, their trade-off is that they're much weaker. You can kill them with 1 hit. Here we've got a named Beholder. That was me hitting Control 0. That was using my Endless Blast, or Heal, the one you get from the Crystal Cove. It restores 1 negative level. Here I'm using the press next to find out where the runes are in this place. There's 3 intelligent runes you need to activate to move on. I'll be pressing 0 will have my heart open and getting me out of being stoned. Pressing 0 puts on my numpad. But I've got my buffs and my, well, get out of jail cards. Like remove blindness and remove disease, etc. Here I'm going to use Monk Fists of Light to heal myself up. So first I'm going to prime, because if I prime after I did 3 attacks, will discharge the finishing move. Then I attack 3 times using Fists of Light. And then when I use the finishing move, it's affected by the 50 healing amplification.
Clusters of giant mushrooms grow more sparse as you emerge from the beholder's domain. Ahead, torrents of water plunge into a pool far below. If you leap into the waterfall, there'll be no turning back.
Here I need to get to that little cave at the far end as an optional. And the way you're supposed to do it is supposed to walk off the edge over here to a ledge on the left. It's very easy to mess up and fall down. So rather than do that, rather than walking off straight, I'll just use the double jump. After all, why would I play a build with double jump and not use it? Here comes the second big fight of this quest. This is one of the big choking points. Luckily, if you clear out this first wave, the door where the shrine is positioned will open up. So even if you mess up after that, you still can resurrect yourself and keep on going. Here I should have changed my stance before entering this area into Earth stance. That would give me much more hit points and also would allow me to have a higher AC and absorb more damage. Also, I probably should have buffed better using protection from evil. Here I just became blinded. I'm going to hit the shortcut bar. I'm going to hit my numpad number 4. That's remove blindness. I just realized now I don't have any way to protect against magic missile. You could make shortcuts for all of these, I just haven't done it yet. Here I wanted to heal myself up. I prime by using a potion. Then I'm going to use my regenerative cocoon, combine in my healing hands. Then again I press 4 on my numpad to remove blindness. That was me pressing Control 0, which gives me the endless bottle of rum. It removes 1 negative level and gives me a nice heal. I was pressing 9 on my numpad as remove curse. That was another healing hands. Again, remove curse. There we go. Here there's some champion with Soul of Cruelty. Keeps on hitting me with that acid debuff. It can kill you really fast if you're not careful. Again, prime, using my cocoon. Remove curse. I'm going to rest quickly before I go into the next fight so I get all my charges of adrenaline overload back. Also, if you haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you'd like to subscribe. Thanks. There's a beholder over here, so I'm not sure I want it too heavily buff. You can debuff me if you want, but put on the minimum I need to survive it. I don't want to fight all 3 champions together, so I'm going to use my shuriken just to get the aggro and pull them out of here. I'm going to fight him in the side room just in case I die. I can run back to the shrine and he won't be standing right next to me. Using restoration, for instance, would be using my custom modifier key plus hitting J. You can see it on the shortcut bars at number 9, shortcut bar number 3. That gets rid of Ghoul's Touch. Yeah, wasn't too bad.
This great hall is flanked by towering statues from a lost age. They chose a dramatic
Rebuffing.
battleground for a last stand.
Let's get the show going. soon as I've got all the monsters collected up, go to town using all of my special cleave attacks. So whirlwind attack, then it's a sweeping strike. Then I can make sure I can also use the staff lunge and spring attack if I want. Quick strike is actually more of a buff versus a special attack. It does hit extra hard, but really you want to prime it first. That means you want to have it give you that buff of 25% to your double strike. That's, I think, the most important part of it. I'm standing next to all the monsters together, so when I do all of my cleave attacks, hitting the boss and the trash monsters, so I can get rid of them all at once. As you can see, every time I heal myself, I prime, meaning I use the healing potion. Then right after that, I use the cocoon. That's why I get much more healing out of each charge of regenerative cocoon. I don't have empower healing or anything to boost it. This makes a big difference. Here I got hit with blindness. I'm going to press 4 on my numpad, remove blindness. Simple as that. Here you can see I want to put on some protection of evil. Protection from evil helps you against command. I'm not sure about greater command. Again, always prime and heal. Quarter staff I'm using now is the one that comes from Thunderforge. Is a Thunderforge quarterstaff, and it's the level 20 version. I added it a stack. I added first degree burn to add vulnerability, and in hindsight, it was always 2020. I should have saved the 30-second burst of adrenaline overload for when he was already stacked with vulnerability. The vulnerability that he gets from the staff, plus the vulnerability I have because of improved destruction, it means I'll have a better chance of hitting critical strikes, and that when I do hit critical strikes, they'll be more meaningful. I really should have waited a little bit until I got a few stacks of vulnerability stacked up on top of him, and then to activate all my big DPS bursts. Probably be more effective. And that's it. 104,000 XP. So you can see why people run this as one of the dailies. Also, the traps contribute a significant amount of XP to this quest. So if you got somebody who can do traps, they really should. It means a lot. Especially if you're doing it for the XP. Anyways, if you benefited from this guide, or if you just enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. Anyways, this QuickStick Build saga is getting closer to its end. We've got only one more PlayGuide video, and then we're up to the wrap-up. So, if you've got any questions or comments, please don't be shy to leave them in the comments below, and hopefully I'll be able to address them. Anyways, thank you. See you in a different video. Bye.